Hey, Peace World, thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. My name is Wood. Please consider becoming a subscriber to the channel, and if you like the way that any information is being presented, it helps me out so much if you can hit that like button. It just takes a second. If you're checking me out every week or regularly, please hit the like button. That helps with the video popping up for people looking for the same topics or subjects that I'm talking about. Try to connect that dot for you. Look, this is going to be I try not to include a whole lot of profanity on my channel, but I have to get into it today just for expediency. So I'm getting into episode 8 of the CHI, and it's called Frunchroom. And I got a whole just a small discussion about Lena Waithe, the show's creator, just to tie a couple of things together. I don't know if you're familiar with Lena's show 20s. I don't know if that's only on the Showtime app or if you can watch it on regular Showtime. I don't really have regular Showtime. I just have the app. And I mainly had it for boxing. But I watched a couple of episodes of 20s. And if you're not familiar with it, it centers it's centered around 3 young females. One of them is Condola, the actress that plays Condola from Insecure. It's the main reason why I watched it. But the main character, I can't remember her name, but she is a lesbian. I don't know if stud is the correct term, but she's kind of the male in her relationships, that, you know, her lesbian relationships and whatnot. And the other 2 girls, from what I saw, they are heterosexual. But the main character is a writer and wants to get into TV writing or writing for TV shows and, you know, movies, screenplays and whatnot. But one of the reasons, you know, I really said earlier in some other videos that I didn't want to get on here and make my channel a place where I complain and tear down the work of others, and in particular black shows. I really didn't want to get on here and be the one to be critical of them only and to pile it on, especially when the quality starts declining. But that was actually a part that they dealt with. That was actually something that they dealt with on the 20s, is because that lead character approached an individual, a female, who had a television show or a series, and it was trash. Well, it was popular, but a lot of people thought it was trash because of the way they depicted some stuff, some kind of love, black love, some love affair, something. And the lead character goes to that director or that executive producer's house to try to get this job. And the executive producer and creator, show creator and all, writer and everything, is aware that this individual bashed her show on social media. I believe it was Twitter. And that comes up during the interview. And then she doesn't select this girl, the main character, to be her like executive assistant or what do they call it? Director's assistant, producers. It's something DP, I think. Directors. Maybe it's DA. I don't know. But anyway, the lead character didn't get this job. Well, she goes back the next day and confronts the lady and is like, hey, yeah, I said what I said. I wrote what I wrote about your show. But it was out of respect for how good your show could be. But since you don't listen to your fans and you kind of like out of touch with some things, the show is kind of trash. And that creator, that executive producer on the show actually says, you know what, you're right. I was trying to do such and such and such. I lost my way a little bit. And you're right. She just said, but your constructive criticism could have been handled a little bit differently. So when I saw this, when I watched that episode, it really kind of spoke to me in the sense that no, I'm not out here just hating to hate. When I raised the questions about a show like The Chi, and when I was talking about The Power, and I stopped talking about Power. Did I say The Power? I didn't mean that. But I'm not just out here criticizing and tearing stuff down to tear stuff down. I'm actually trying to point out what I think is some real stuff. So anyway, with that out of the way, getting on to Frunchroom. This is the second episode in a row where I kind of finished up the episode, and I was speechless. I don't have a whole lot to say. In this one, we have Keisha coming home, and I just feel like the way this episode was handled, the way that the whole Chi verse, the whole universe of Chi, all of the other characters outside of this family, just didn't matter this episode. They showed nothing else but the four walls of this apartment that Nina, Dre, Keisha, and Kevin live in. Show nobody else except for the couple of people that came over to visit. So I kind of, like I said, I don't have much to say. The one thing that my major takeaway from this episode is that I don't feel like the writer or the showrunner or Lena Waithe, I feel like this is a perfect example when people really don't have anything to feed their audiences. I know they're dealing with the recovery of Keisha now that she's home, but it leads me to believe that they don't have a whole lot to say unless they're showing, and this is where I'm talking about, I'm getting into some profanity out of expediency because they really don't have nothing to tell you unless it's about fucking and cheap fucking. So we get all of the different sexual scenes and what's going on along those storylines and Dom and Emmett fucking last week in the kitchen, and you know earlier we had the fucking with Otis and his wife Candy. We almost had some children fucking, last week with Kevin and Gemma. But here it is, we had this very important episode, and again, all we see is dysfunction. And it's like as black people, we're not allowed to have healthy and loving relationships. So this mother in Nina, who was so concerned all these weeks, her and her daughter really don't even have any moments together. There's no protection, there's no love, and the thing is, and again, two characters cannot talk to each other. We saw this in Power where Tariq and his dad could not speak to each other and communicate with one another as men. And now we have this here where Keisha is so messed up and so traumatized. I don't know if you saw the movie Room or not. You could compare how that was handled. And again, I mentioned it last week, there's no time taken to develop none of this stuff. She immediately comes home, and now it's more for her to sit up in her room and barricade herself in her room and isolate herself from her own mother until she's comfortable. She obviously told them that nothing happened to her. She wasn't raped, which we know that she was. And mom is now sleeping out on the couch to keep an eye on the door to see whenever she comes out. I know at the end of the show, or she goes in the bathroom with her when she went to go burn up the clothing that she thinks had her messed up. And then at the end of the show, she does agree to go and undergo some counseling. And I think the show ended after that. But for the rest of it, I just don't know if I really, I really wasn't shown a whole lot other than turmoil and dysfunction and, just more conflict. And then, I don't even really want to nitpick here with some of the little silly stuff I saw, like the fact that Papa has this money that he was given maybe a month and a half ago, that Omari, I believe is the kidnapper, rapist name, he tipped him. and then he actually goes to give the money to Keisha. Like, I don't even understand what that. I don't understand that interaction right there. But okay. I guess my main thing would be, after I just talked about my main thing. Now, like, why is Dre so incompetent as a counselor? Why is she so incompetent in her home life, with trying to push and intervene and bully and expedite, things getting back to normal in this family? Like, why won't she just fall back and let this family try to heal? So I don't understand that about Dre. And then with Kevin, an episode or two ago, all Keisha wanted to do from her kidnapper and the guy who was imprisoning her and raping her, the only thing that could get her through that episode and not kill herself was thinking about her brother's birthday, which we don't know how she was able to keep track of what day it was, but okay, nevertheless. But she talked the killer into making the phone call, so I guess she could hear Kevin's voice on his birthday. Now we fast forward to she comes home, and again, there's no interaction whatsoever between Kevin and Keisha. So I'm just confused by that. Like, why wouldn't she have tried to talk to her brother, whose relationship was the focal point of her survival just a couple of episodes ago? I kind of don't get it. And then lastly, so I can get on off of here, all of the characters have to react to all of these situations in the most negative way possible. And because things aren't normal, Kevin gets up. I just don't see this happening, because I've been in a family with family bullshit going on. And I was 11 or 13, 11 to 14 when this happened, when I witnessed this stuff. I didn't say nothing this damn stupid. But he gets up and says, well, when are we going to tell Keisha that we packed up her room? Like, we gave up on her. That just doesn't seem realistic to me. But again, they have to display their worst behavior at all times. And all the relationships have to be miserable and fucked up at all times for the show to exist. That's just the basics of it. I'm trying to think if that was the last. I thought there was one other thing that I just hit on, but it was kind of a side note of that main thought. But yeah, I don't see why he would have. And I guess that's just the best way they can handle this situation, and everybody living on top of one another in this 12 by 10, space. Is just to lash out and clash with one another, and for there to be conflict and no chance, of working through things as a family. My last thought, very last thought, and I'm gonna really get on off of here, is the fact that, and then in Keisha's poor response or poor choice of a way to respond is for her to lash out at everybody else, like, why didn't you come get me? Totally ignorant of the fact that, she was walking around out here scantily dressed and at night as a 16 or 17-year-old, traveling out in the evening via mass transit, and something happened to you. How could your family really have come? What means did they really have to locate you and save you? But I gotta blame it on my mom, who's just trying to love me and who's been trying to do her best. And that's how they chose to steer her. Is now I guess she's gonna have issues with them because they didn't come. It took them time to figure out where the hell she was. So I just don't know how believable that is. I'm not ignorant. I understand that she would have a lot of stuff to sort through. I just don't agree with how they're handling, how they went about it. That's just my opinion. So, we have 2 more episodes. We'll see how those wrap up. And I want to say that's kind of it for me. You know, I hope those that are saying this is the best season or a great season, congratulations to you. I hope you continue to enjoy the show. Um, guess I'm gonna leave it at that. Until next time, remember on Pay Me No Mind, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Peace.